If you're a parent, then you already know that introducing solid foods is, well, it's a whole thing. But what's really wild is how that journey can be this perfectly planned scientific mission with your first kid, and then pretty much a free-for-all with your second. Today, we're going to dig into why that is. Right? The first time feels like you need a lab coat, and the second time feels like just another Tuesday night dinner. So what gives? Does the baby change, or do we? Let's get into it. Okay, so let's rewind the clock to that first-time parent experience. You know the vibe. You've read every book, scrolled through a million blogs, you have all the tiny spoons and bowls, you are ready to go. The source material calls this the first-time playbook. And yeah, it's a story all about very specific methods, a whole lot of mess, and honestly, a pretty heavy mental burden. So let's break down the game plan for baby number one. If you look at the column on the left here, you'll see this was an operation defined by precision and a very, very slow progression.
The whole approach was basically a military-grade strategy. We're talking homemade veggie purees, all portioned out into little ice cube trays. There was a super strict one new food per week rule, to check for allergies. They were even preloading spoons and trying this partial baby-led weaning thing, which is where you let babies try to feed themselves soft finger foods. It was a lot.
And beyond all the logistics, there was this heavy emotional toll. The daily ritual of getting the baby in the high chair, wrestling on one of those long-sleeve bibs, and then the inevitable massive cleanup. It all started to feel, as the parent put it, like a huge mental burden that just loomed over the entire day.
And that mental load, it totally controlled the pace. It all started with just one solid meal a day, because that's literally all the parent felt they could handle. It took months to carefully, slowly work up to 2 meals a day, and then eventually, finally, up to 3.
Oh, and the rules were ironclad. A huge focus was on practically zero salt, which meant the baby always needed a separate, specially cooked meal. And of course, this was all fueled by those late-night deep dives into online parenting groups, trying to understand the difference between gagging and choking and stressing about the exact right way to slice a grape. Sound familiar?
And this right here is the big turning point, because everything we just talked about gets completely flipped on its head with the second baby. So the real question is, was the baby just different, or had something else changed completely?
Okay, now let's fast forward to baby number 2. This is where the story takes a huge turn. We're entering a whole new reality, one that's all about flexibility and, you guessed it, a ton more confidence. The parent literally described the difference as night and day. And when you look at this, you can totally see why. That rigid scientific method just melts away into something that looks a whole lot more like a relaxed, normal family meal. This time around, those ice cube trays filled with purees were gone. Well, except for some prunes, which, are always helpful. The method switched to pretty much all baby-led weaning. It just meant giving the baby some soft, properly sized pieces of whatever the family was already eating. Simple as that. And here's the absolute key. That feeling of being totally overwhelmed was gone. The parent was now a seasoned pro, a veteran of the food on the floor wars. The mental barrier was just not there anymore. The high chair was just a chair, not some kind of daily battlefield.
And with that new mindset, the rules changed too. The parent was, in their words, way more flexible about things like salt. Baby number 2 was trying bites of homemade pancakes, having some of the family soup made with regular bouillon, and even eating modified food from a restaurant. All things that would have been a hard no the first time around.
So what was the result of this laid-back approach? It was pretty amazing, actually. With that big mental hurdle for the parent just gone, the baby just jumped right in. She quickly got on board with the whole 3 meals a day family schedule. So when you really boil it all down, what was the one single thing that made these two experiences so incredibly different? Let's get to the real heart of it, the fundamental reason for this massive shift. It had nothing to do with having an easy baby versus a picky one. The source is crystal clear on this. The difference was not the child's personality or how much they liked to eat. It was the parent, plain and simple. The transformation was completely internal. The parent themselves had changed so much between the first and second kid, and that new mindset just reshaped the entire experience. And honestly, this quote says everything. Looking back, the parent says that she just wouldn't have been okay mentally with a faster, more flexible approach the first time. That slow, super methodical process wasn't really just for the baby. It was a journey she needed to go on for her own comfort and confidence. So at the end of the day, this story is about so much more than just purees and bibs. It's a perfect example of how parents evolve right alongside their kids.
What we're really looking at here is a journey that so many of us go on. It's this natural evolution from that by-the-book, rule-following anxiety you have with your first to this intuitive confidence that you can only get through while living it.
And that is the real takeaway here. The first time around gives you the experience. That experience builds confidence. And it's that hard-won confidence that finally lets you be more flexible and calm the next time you're in the trenches.
So we'll leave you with this question to think about. For all the parents out there with more than one kid, what was the biggest night and day difference for you? Maybe it was feeding, maybe it was sleeping, maybe it was something else entirely. It's a pretty fascinating way to look at our own growth. Thanks for checking this out.